So we are back on this truck. It is now Monday night. We got in from the Ford dealership today, our lines. So called, and they only come by the pair. So you have to buy both of them, the transmission oil cooler line. So let me show you a couple things just in case you're working on it. So first off, the tool you need, which you can get these off like Amazon or eBay, is going to be one that looks like this. This is what I was talking about the other night, how it has the step down to it. Okay, this is the one I actually ended up using. These are Darren's next door. I'm guessing there's a part number right there. So I borrowed them from him. He mostly only works on Ford stuff, so he had them. Hopefully I won't ever have to change these. This one's pretty nice because it has the little rubber band around it. So it kind of always pulls itself shut, you know, whereas this one, you got to obviously hold it shut. But you can get like both of these, the 1/2 inch and the 3/8 off of like Amazon or eBay for, I think it's like $18. So not bad. For the two lines, you have to get both of these. They come in a pair. They go down there and they go back there and they break about right there is where they break. Here's your part number going to be from your local Ford dealership if you're putting one of these trucks together. So I'm guessing this is going to be the diesel and the gas motor. Just confirm with your dealer when you call. But that's going to be the two sections of the lines you need for the front. Our O-ring, let's see here. Did I throw away that bag? I guess I did. You can just call them up, tell them what you got. Our old one, it is so freaking clear as day. So you see how flat that is? Okay. Here's our new one. There's our new one. You see the difference there? It's crazy. So that's 200 miles, I guess, of being squished in there of heat cycles and everything. It's just not puffed out no more like it's supposed to be. So there's our new one. There's what it looks like. Big difference. So we're going to get this new one in, and hopefully that will fix our leak on our lower radiator hose. And then hopefully when the water level finally reaches up here, we don't have a leak up top, because that's normally my luck is that I'll get all this fixed and then the water level will fill up because it won't be leaking out, and then it'll start leaking up here. Fortunately, these were only like $8-9 for this little O-ring, and it just goes simply right in the end of the hose. So I've just got my hose pulled over here. You literally just stick it in there. It goes right inside. There's a groove on the inside, and that is should fix the leaky hose. So you can see it just sits right down in there inside that groove. So put this back together and get some water in it tonight and see if that fixes our problem. And then we got our AC condenser in the mail today off of eBay. So we are going to get this bad boy put in also, and then get some AC Freon in it in the morning. All right, this right here is where a lot of people mess up on doing flips for themselves. Now, when we are doing these vehicles, if we do videos on these vehicles, okay, we can't do this. These are customer vehicles. Customers are going to buy these. They expect these to be right, okay? This is our vehicle. Now, yes, there's eventually going to be a customer that will probably buy it. I get it, but a lot of times it's going to be somebody that knows me, that knows how I do it, or, you know, has watched all of this stuff. The Duramax, we sold it to a buddy that watched every YouTube video. Perfectly happy with it. This is where this can make or break you on stuff like this. This piece right here, as you can see, it's busted. It clips on. So this is what it looks like, okay? It's something like this. Okay, this is all this does is this bolts to the front of the truck like that, okay? And it holds the grill. The grill, this, you know, it's hold the grills to the truck. That's it. It's nothing structural. It's nothing important. So this piece alone is over 200. It's 200 and up for this piece alone. All of these parts up here are anywhere from 200 to 500, depending on if you buy them used, where you're at, what day of the week you're on eBay, what deals you're on. You know, we went over this, repairing this guy. This stuff can add up if you go through here and replace all this stuff, when most of these do nothing at all, hardly. So all we're doing on this is we're putting some clips back in. They come off our old grill, you know, you have that. And I'm actually missing some clips. I really need to try to get some more. This side over here, you see the orange one right there? It's missing that one right there. Really need to order one day. And then it's supposed to have some clips right here on it. So we're just kind of test fitting all this together. These clip into the headlights. So we need to try to maybe get them, if they're not in the old headlights. They may be on the old headlights. Tonight I was just trying to mock this up, see where I'm at. So all I'm doing is just going to lay this in here and figure out everything. This is part of the old grill, I'm guessing. I didn't realize that, so I'm about to pull that, that one off. And then just clip this in just like that and let the grill basically tie all this together. This will save you quite a bit of money. And then where these pieces go back together at, I originally had said panel bond, but there's really no reason to panel bond. We might zip tie this back together, or we might even cut us a piece of metal right here and, you know, rivet that back together. It's really not that important at all. You know, we'll probably definitely zip tie the top back together. I don't know, maybe zip tie this. And then what we'll do is we'll just keep an eye out for a used piece, you know, grill support, a used one, as time goes on, and then hopefully we can find one in a junkyard or whatever like that, and then we will change it. But right now we don't want to change it because we don't have a good deal on a used one, so we just want to get this thing together. So I just wanted to kind of touch base on that real fast and show y'all that, you know, just because you see something busted off of a truck, you know, it's busted in half, stop and use your freaking brain and ask yourself, what does this do? Is this structural? Is this important, or does it just hold a grill? It always amazes me how fast y'all and everybody else are to fabricate a whole race car, fabricate tabs to hold grills on, doors, everything, run 200 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour down a track. In my case, run 80 miles an hour down a track one day. And then go to your personal vehicle and spend $200 to $500 to hold a grill on the front. I don't get it. I don't get it. You'll fab at the house on the race car and everything, but then when it comes to just a daily driver that's not worth 10% of what the race car is worth, you know, or what you got in the race car, I guess you don't have but 10% in your daily driver, or 25% as you do in your race car, then you'll sit there and spend all this ridiculous money on the most pettiest, stupidest stuff that doesn't matter in no way or shape or form. So we're gonna get this fit together. I just want to touch on that because a lot of people, for some reason, man, they try to do these flips, and this is where they mess up at. You know, radiator, AC condenser, went ahead and replaced all that new. You don't want that taking a crap on you while you're towing. I could have straightened the old one out, especially the AC condenser, which that was only 75, 78 bucks, you know. But if you get a hold of an expensive one, straighten out. What's the worst case? What's the worst that's gonna happen? Is it gonna leak out or something, and you're not gonna have AC? Wow. But your radiator, you don't want to be on the side of the road, so at least try to get a new radiator. Hopefully that will help. You know, that little piece of information will help somebody that's starting out, trying to flip their truck. Never throw away anything when you're doing these flips. Save every freaking piece. Put it in the trunk of the car. Put it in the better truck. Save everything until you are completely done, because you don't know what some items are going to cost. Let me get this thrown together. Let's see how it fits. All right, well, there we go. We got a front end on. So it's just sitting there. I wanted to make sure everything lined up. I tested the hood latch, make sure the hood latch is lined up. Now we still got to take that piece up there. If you remember, it's bent, so we need to like pull it up to the frame rack and just kind of pull it forward, or just take it off and bend it in the vise. I don't really know yet, but we got to get that working tomorrow. It's already a little after 11 right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits for tonight. But at least I know that my grill support will work. It will hold the grill on. It bolts in right here on the sides. You got 2 bolts that go into the main frame that really is going to hold that strong, and then you got 4 that go across the top, and then 2 that's going the other side. And everywhere there was a break, I pretty much stitched it up with zip ties. So that's going to be perfectly fine. It bolts into the top also. You know, these 2 bolt holes over here are completely missing, but it's plenty, and then it snaps into the headlight on top of all that. So be plenty strong. So I mean, just sitting on there with no bolts at all, it's on there because it has pins also that go down in there. So it worked out perfect right here on this piece. This ended up clearing perfect. I didn't really do that by design, but it worked perfect. It sits flat right on there, nice and tight. And then, you know, like I said, these bolts across the top will hold this thing down. So definitely money saved versus just going out and buying the piece. Little by little, we're chipping away at this thing. Boy, me and this little Colorado, we have put some freaking miles on the road in the past couple of weeks. So heading to the shop, we're gonna work on this F250 tonight. And tonight might be the night that this thing actually gets good enough to come to the house. Look at all the lights all over the Colorado. I swear the Colorado has every warning light you could just about have. We don't have a check engine light, surprisingly. But boy, she cranks right up and go every time. So I have literally been working 12-hour days now for quite a while. Basically, work all day, 8 to 5, go home with Harper from 8 to 5. Go home with Harper from 5 to 7. And then back at the shop from about 7:30 to anywhere from 10 to midnight, depending on how much I decide I want to work that night. So it is definitely catching up with me. I'm definitely feeling it, but this is what it takes to make stuff happen, y'all. Let's turn some lights on. So we're gonna get this guy done tonight. So a couple of things that we have to do on this thing. We're gonna get this front end put together. That's kind of what we were lacking. We have to deal with the hood. We have to deal with a couple things. So if you remember the hood latch, the bar, okay, this bar is crooked. You can't really see it, but that's gotta be bent. So we have to address that so that that closes in that. And then let's see here. We need a top coolant off. We can do that tomorrow. We can get Ed to top off the AC tomorrow and put AC in it. But we got to fix this frame horn down here. So originally what I wanted to do was I was going to have Mike heat it up. He come to work the other day and wanted to do it in the morning. He hasn't really been here all week. So our schedules haven't crossed, I guess you could say. He hasn't been available. The morning that he did come here, I was just too busy. So like I said, I've been working 12-hour days, so I've been extremely busy and can't really mess with this. But on this, we have it where it is kinked right here. So we have a kink right there in the rail. You can see how the rail's up. That's all it is. This bolts on from the inside, and then these pieces right here are bent back. So you can see the powder coating, how it's like cracking right there from it being bent back. So they needed to be pulled forward. I should have pulled these on the frame rack before I did it. I should have pulled this bracket on there, but I did not. So now we're gonna figure out how we're gonna fix that, get that back straight. And this, now normally you would do this with like a torch. So you would take it, and right here in this area, you would heat this up and you would push up on the kink where it's low, and then you would beat down on the front. Mike has the torch. It's Mike's torch. I had bought the Rosebud, I think that's what it's called, for the end of it, for heating frames up. We did a black Silverado on this channel a while back on the frame rack where we heated the frame red hot to try to get it to pull. And that's really what needs to happen here, is all this get heated red hot and then try to sledgehammer it back into place. But I don't know if the torch is here tonight, and I don't really use the torch. Like, I've only used the torch a couple times of that size. So I'm not even going to attempt to bust it out. I'm going to do it just like a lot of y'all would do at your house, is we're just going to cut it. So basically, we're going to cut the front of the frame off. We did this also on an F-150 that I built for my granddad. If you recall, if you go back to that video, if you haven't been watching all these videos, you're missing a lot of information that could be helping you on a project. But we're going to cut the front off, and then basically we're going to mock the bumper up on there. So we're going to get the bumper where it needs to be with jacks or jack stands or whatever, a couple bolts. And then we're going to get underneath there, and then we're going to bolt in this tow hook and this frame horn, and we're just going to weld it. All right, so we have got this in the press. We are pressing this thing down. Looks like the bolts are going to clear. Let me loosen that up, slide them other bolts in just to, no, they're clearing. And we're just going to press this. Basically, these are supposed to be flat at a 90 from the center. So you can see how curved up we are. Them are supposed to be flat. So that's what I'm working on now without killing myself. This thing's under a lot of pressure, but I don't think it'll go nowhere if it pops. I really need an attachment to the end of this thing. You know, that would be like a V to keep it from kicking over, but I don't have it. So I'm going to keep pressing this out, and we'll see what happens. All right, so I think we're going to take a different approach. We're just going to cut this thing. Oh, man, it kind of straightened out some, but I think we're going to make some relief cuts in this. That way it's not so much pressure. And then what we'll do is weld it back together afterwards. So let me throw this thing in the vise and cut it. All right, so this is what we end up with after cutting our slits in it. So now you can see we're back pretty much at a 90 from the center like we need to be, but look how huge them freaking gaps are. So that's how bent that thing was. And it should have honestly been on the frame rack. The original plan was to put this thing up there on the frame rack and use the frame machine to pull these tabs back straight. That way, you know, it's not as sketchy as using that press over there, but a lot of y'all would not have a frame rack. So this is a good example of how you can fix these parts, you know, with just like a Harbor Freight press. But you can also replace this part. So this part does not need to be fixed. You can replace this part. I might check with a local junkyard to see if they have one. But, I mean, this is pretty freaking thick metal. So once we have everything like we want it, I might just grab some scrap metal from over there in the bin, cut it up, cut some triangles to fill that in maybe, and just burn all this in. Or I'll simply just, you know, leave it just like this with the cuts open, and then search for another one and then swap it out at the house on the weekend. You know, this will at least get us mounted up for right now. But you can see my frame rack right now is tied up with interior. You know, this is what 12-hour days look like. This is at night cleaning stuff and being ahead of the gun on cars that are not even ready yet. Tonight I just decided that I was still going to jump the gun and get it in, but I wasn't going to work on, you know, this stuff. So like this car I painted today, and it needs all the interior put back in it. So I painted the front end, put some nice runs in it over there. And that one just needs to go back together, and then we're pretty much on to the next one. But this is how y'all can do it at your house. And I know y'all can cut slits and weld that up. So that piece is prepped now. We need to handle the frame horn next. I went ahead and took these bolts out. I'm not exactly sure what these are for, actually. I don't know if, you know, maybe the nicer trucks have something else. And before anybody comments, that's out of another car. There's no drips on this line. I know somebody's going to say that the radiator or something's leaking. That's not from this truck. So we're going to cut this straight through and probably come straight off of here or something. I guess these bolts are not even needed, literally, because of how you're not doing nothing. But we get this thing cut and then start putting this front bumper on. You can see I got the headlights in. They look good. They have the LED rings in them. I'll show them later when I hooked them up. All I did was just sit them in for mock-up purposes right now. So let's get that cut and get our front bumper set up there. All right, so here's what we've done. We didn't cut across the top. I changed my plans. I cut the sides out of it. So I cut both sides just like that. And then what I've done is I have peeled out the side of the frame rails and then beat the top down flat. So if you look across it, our top is back flat, pretty much like it's supposed to be. Now your bumper has adjustments up and down, so this area doesn't have to be perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna eyeball this off of right here, and we're gonna come through here with a cutoff wheel, and we're gonna cut this straight to take this excess off. Then we'll bend the tabs back in, and then we will re-weld it up. And what it is these bolts, I figured it out, is they just went through and kind of pinched everything together, because the end of this, you can see the bolts laying up in there that Harper put in there. It's multiple layers of metal put together. So that's what's going on with this. So we're gonna have to get in here and burn all of this in when we're done. I probably need to go ahead actually and put the clamp on this, or put the tow hook on it and bolt it together, because that's gonna move all the metal around, and then make my cuts on the side, bend my sides and my rails back in so that they're square, basically like this, and then burning the sides. But like I said, we'll probably leave the sides we won't weld anything until we fit the bumper on, make sure everything's good. That way if we have to adjust anything, we can. So let's get at it. Of course, I just seen while I was videoing that water on the floor, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that water was not there. So my first thoughts was sledgehammering on that side has done cracked my brand new radiator just from everything twisting and rattling and banging. But that's not the case. I actually called this in the other video. If we squeeze this, well, it was, now it's not doing it. This upper radiator hose is leaking, and that's the reason why it is going straight down there. It's hard to focus right now and see it, but it's going to need the same thing, another set of O-rings. So if you're doing one of these with higher mileage, go ahead and get both O-rings from the Ford dealership. I should have known better. I squeezed it a second ago and it dripped out, but we'll call the dealership in the morning and get another O-ring. That was easy enough to change, and that fixed our leak over there. So it's just going to need both O-rings. Let's get this cut. Y'all, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. I'm already beat after all of that dancing with that thing. So if we look right here across our two plates, okay, right there, they are pretty much the same angle. Now this one, of course, is mangled some because this is the one we cut. Man, I'm sorry I'm out of breath. But you can see right there, they are pretty much really close. So we can shim that out to make final adjustments. So let me let you in on a little secret. If you're trying to do this yourself at your house, even us body guys use on the frame racks, a big pipe wrench, man. So these things have saved our butt multiple times. These ears right here were bent back like that. So all I did was put that pipe wrench on there, stood on there, and bounced to rotate that around. Now that we have all these relief cuts, you know, we can kind of move this around where we need to be. And then once we get it where we need to be, we can patch everything. Or like I said, we can change this tow hook out and just weld our frame. But yeah, also making the cuts only on the sides instead of across the top, I changed my mind because it still retains, you know, quite a bit of strength to the tow hook. I'd say over 50% because it's not four-sided, so it's only three-sided, and we cut two of the sides. So I guess that, well, now I guess you would take that and say 2/3. So it retains 1/3 of the strength, I guess, if there's three sides cut. But it's better than cutting it all and then, you know, having to pin on my weld across the top. So at least pulling like this, you know, the top of the plate has not been cut, and then all we'll have to do is burn in our pieces on the side. I mean, it is what it is. You know, if you have a parts truck, what we've done in the past is we've literally just cut the whole frame horn off and weld a whole nother frame horn on, and you know, you're good to go. But this, it's already there. There's no reason to spend more money. The whole point of this is trying to spend money. That's why we're doing certain things like we are doing things, you know, and we're not just going out and dumping money into it, because I'm trying to save money. I only sold the Duramax for so much, which I will disclose to y'all, and I've only got so much to work with on this one. And B, this is how a lot of y'all would do it if you're on a budget. So I am not ashamed to show y'all this is what this channel is for. This channel is not for, you know, the right OEM repair method to do the front of this frame rail. You're gonna have to go somewhere else if you're interested in that, because I will never be doing stuff OEM and OEM repairs on this channel. Never. Like, it's probably not gonna happen. I'll try to teach you what I know on how others do it the right way, but I do everything my way. So now let's fit this bumper on it and see how we line up to the headlights. All right, so here's our bumper. This is the 2020 style, so this is an upgrade for this truck. There's supposed to be a dent on here somewhere. I don't even remember. I can't really see it. Like, I literally just laid it on the chrome face on the concrete. Oh, there it is right there. So a little dent right there. You can see the distortion. That's just why they marked this bumper down so cheap. This was a takeoff of a 2020. So I'm pretty stoked, pretty excited. Don't know what goes in the center. I'm guessing these has some plastic plugs in the 2020s. I'm gonna have to look that up. We're just looking to get it mounted right now though. Maybe I can message the seller and see if they have them plugs available also. So let's test fit this on there. All right, man, time is just flying by tonight. It is crazy when you start mocking these things up how fast it's going by. It's already 9:30. I come here thinking tonight I wanted the bumper on, everything welded, headlights in, headlights working, installed, grill on, seat covers put in the truck, and that way in the morning charge the AC and drive it home. And here I am, still no welding and just figuring out, you know, the mocking up and get all that under control. So got it mocked up, it looks good. Measure it from the top of your bumper to what I'm using is the white bar in there, since I can see through that pretty good. It's 1 3/4 inches on both sides. Off of that, your tilt on the end of the bumper on most trucks, you know, where it's tilted like this, okay? Normally, that's gonna be on a bracket that's like that right there. So that bracket right there, as you can see, this bumper will move. When we bolt that bracket in, we'll be able to kick up our corners, clamp that in, and that will help keep our corners up. Besides that, this thing is looking really, really good. The four-wheel drive models do have this, there's a broom, have this really low hanging piece to it because they normally sit up higher. So the manufacturers try to get these trucks up higher, but then try to get the front low so that it kicks air up into the radiator and keeps air out from underneath the truck and kind of puts it around the truck. But you can order the two-wheel drive valence. Normally it's like $100, $200 to make it look higher. But I'm also, honestly, I've had so many humongous lifted 4x4s and I'm really digging this front, like being low to the ground. If this thing already didn't have a leveling kit on when I bought it, I would probably reverse leveled it, which is where you take the back and you lower the back. Take like the lift block, lower it a little so that the back matches the front. Because normally from the factory, they're sitting like this. We don't necessarily want the squat. I'm not against the squat. I'm not against huge amounts, but I'm not against a little bit. But I would have, since it's a two-wheel drive, I would have loved to kind of reverse level this. I think it would have looked sick towing a race trailer. But that low piece on the front end, I'm really actually digging it for the first time in my life on this model truck. Gonna get this figured out. The tow hook, this frame on this side now is a little bit lower. The tow hook wise, I don't know if it's because of me being like this or or what the deal is exactly with everything being bent. But basically what I've done is loosen the bolts up that go through the tow hook. I took the back bolts out, loosened the front ones up, and then I will shim it with washers underneath here so that this tow hook is, you know, the height that it needs. So I just want to have pressure on the front right now to rotate it to keep this front of this bar up. So when you're mocking these bumpers up on any truck, even the Chevrolets and stuff, every time we do a bumper, if you don't have two buddies to sit there in a chair, normally get a chair here and chair there, hold it, get a tape measure, a wooden block so it's equal. 1 3/4 of that white bar, you probably could have laid a 2x4 down on top of the chrome and jacked the 2x4 up to the bottom of the bumper and been good to go. But I've had to use jacks, you know, get that side set and then kind of move the jacks around and, you know, get it like that. You got to pay attention to your headlight bolt. It would be amazing to put this thing up tighter, but from the factory they do give you this piece of rubber because you do have this headlight bolt right there on the side. So don't go crazy putting that bumper too high, because then you won't be able to get the headlights out without taking the bumper off, which would be an absolute nightmare. Let me keep getting at it. Man, it sucks that that water's leaking. My luck is it's gonna be Friday and we won't have that O-ring tomorrow. Watch, that's gonna be my luck, and I still won't be able to drive the truck this weekend. Or maybe I'll be able to drive it home and it just leak a little bit. I don't know. So let's get at it. All right, I think I see my problem. I took it back apart, and what we have is our tow hook right here, okay? The bottom of our tow hook is the same height as this plane right here. So the top of this frame rail is all straight. Whereas over here, the frame rail is squished in. So you can see our dimple right there. So our frame rail is squished in. So here's why I'm going to use these washers. What I need to do is get it like that, basically, okay? So that our tow hook, as you can see now, will sit up level and flush with the top of this rail, because that's where it's supposed to be. And that's about how much this side was lacking. So I think that should fix it this time. We'll put, sadly, you got to take all this crap back apart every single time. We'll put these in there, tighten this thing down, put the tow hook on there, and see if you have enough play, because like I said, you have these cutouts, you know, so you do get a good inch of height adjustment, but I just ain't quite having enough. So stacking that up another 1/2 inch or so should definitely do it. And that looks a whole lot better. Like I said, with the top of my frame rail now, it looks more like that side. Being this, when it kinked up, it pushed the back down. So the front's not really that big of a problem, but being we hammered the front down to straighten everything out, now it you know, it's totally different. But you learn this stuff as you go. You know, that's the reason why I do this channel, is to help other people out. I kind of just figure this stuff out as I go, and you know, go from there. Can't go back and put that back in now. It is what it is. But like I said, we'll grind that paint off and we'll burn them in, and you know, go from there. Ain't nothing we can do about it now. So let's see if this works. All right, so got all that welded up and went ahead and painted the frame horns black. That way, whenever you look through there, it's got a fresh coat of good old rattle can on it. The tops, I just laid some welds right there in the corner of the tears just to kind of slow the tears down. I don't think I'm gonna mess with this tow hook. I was just thinking about it more. The tow hook itself, you know, goes through here is these 4 bolts. These 4 bolts go through the tow hook. So these ears right here are no strength at all to the tow hook. These ears are literally just to mount the bumper. That's all they are, is just to hold the bumper up. These plates are so freaking thick that I don't see I'm gonna have any problem at all with them slices cut in there. So I'm not messing with it. If somebody ever buys this truck and they want to change that tow hook, have at it. But I think it's overkill. So I burnt the sides in. Y'all know I'm not a welder, so nothing's pretty. But it's done. Threw the heat to it on the China one on like level freaking F. So it was a lot of heat. But we're gonna go ahead and throw the bumper back on here. I'm in a rush tonight, even though it's piss hot. Try not to burn myself, get some bolts through it, and go from there. All right, of course it's like 11 o'clock. Nothing can go easy for me. For some reason, everything here in the past couple of weeks has just really been punching me in my face and kicking my teeth in. Went to start that headlight over there. Very simple. All you do is plug it in. It's not complicated. These things come right out the box. Plug it in. All you got to do is connect 2 wires for the little LED tubes, and on your running lights or your marker lights, however you want them to do. That way, if you want them to blink, you connect it like that. If you want them to be solid, you connect them like that. Whatever you want to do. What happens? It slips off my knee, falls to the ground. It was 75% plugged in, so it ripped 2 of the plugs out, and ripped all of the sockets out, like your little, like in a Deutsch connector, how you push the little pins in, ripped them all out. Of course, I'm at the shop. I don't have Deutsch connectors here. We cut and splice everything on these cars. We don't take our time like that, like I do at a race car. All the Deutsch connectors are at the house, so I had to use the little clamp things and just put the wires back the best I could. Had to repair the end of the socket with hot glue. Like it ripped, when it ripped the little male part of the Deutsch connector out, I guess it tore the cheap little locking mechanism that's in there, because these are cheap Chinese headlights, man. They're not like the actual nice Deutsch connectors. And so it ripped them out, and so then when they went back in, they wouldn't stay. So I pushed them all the way up in there and then pumped the end full of hot glue. That way it can't back out. That's a trick that we've used before. If you ever have it where your male Deutsch connector pin or the pin won't go into the socket on a car, not your race car, I wouldn't do. I mean, I don't know. I guess a lot of y'all would do that on your race car. But you can put your wires up in there and then just pump the end of the socket full of hot glue, and that will like mold, you know, act like a mold to seal everything up watertight and keep everything from moving. It works amazing. We use a lot of hot glue to repair, you know, wires, sockets like that. But got it all on there. I think it looks good. Got the bumper on, the 4 in the front on each side. Have not went under the truck and got the bottom side. Hooked the AC condenser up, so I'll get Eddie to throw some Freon in it in the morning. Got the headlights where they work. They look good. I'll turn them on real fast and show y'all the LED tubes, because I know a lot of people like these, and they're not that expensive at all on eBay. I think these are right under 200 bucks. So it's kind of hard to tell. Let's cut this off. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but you get the idea. I think they look good. I like them. We're making grounds, but at 11 o'clock, I think I'm about to call it quits. The good news now is that all I gotta do is fix the hood thing, so the hood will stay shut. I could technically ratchet strap it and get the O-ring for the radiator. If that's available tomorrow, then I can throw the grill and everything in a better truck and technically drive this thing home and finish this thing in my driveway if I wanted to. So I think I'm gonna call it a night, get home, try to get to bed before midnight, and then come in the morning in my true nature. I've got mess everywhere. Clean it up and try to finish that up maybe tomorrow during the day. Or like I said, I might ratchet strap it down and just finish it at the house. But I think that's going to be it for tonight.